fans, and welcome to another edition of John Arezzi's Pro Wrestling Spotlight podcast. We are the only wrestling podcast that brings you back 30 years with vintage audio featuring some of the biggest names of that time. And this episode is no exception. We have a great special guest joining us today. The Pro Wrestling Spotlight covered all the news stories and breaking developments that happened in real time, and now we get to relive that history right here on this podcast. Today, we will review the Pro Wrestling Spotlight show, which aired on 1050 WEVD in New York City on July 3rd and July 10th of 1993. We are overseas for both of these shows, calling in live from the Philippines on July the 3rd and from Singapore on the July 10th show. And in a few minutes, joining us to review the tour of Southeast Asia, one of the true legends of pro wrestling, someone I've known since 1975, who I call a dear friend. He was also on that tour. I'm speaking of Kevin Sullivan. But before we get to that, I do want to remind you that our Patreon account is up and available for all of you to enjoy all of the content, including all the unedited episodes of the Pro Wrestling Spotlight radio show from 1989 to 1995. Each week we put new shows up, and I found a cache of college shows, which I'm now starting to download. Hopefully they won't break because they're from 50 years ago. So anyway, I am starting to digitize those, and I'm going to be putting those up for patrons. And for patrons, we're also going to have a special college reunion show when I went to school at Graham Junior College in Boston, Massachusetts. So that's all stuff to look forward to. We will be putting up some additional footage for patrons from the IWAS Southeast Asia tour. So a lot coming your way. It starts at $5 a month, gets you in the door. Go to patreon.com/John Arezzi if you want to be part of the community of wrestling fans who enjoy the history of Pro Wrestling Spotlight and all the other perks that come along with it. Now, without further ado, let's bring Marsh on, our producer and creative director. Marsh, how you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good one today. We've done a lot of hard work. I was, going through all the hard drives and finding clips of our guests so we could watch them with him when he joins us. And that'll be available on our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Spotlight. And of course, the audio will be available as well on the show for those who listen to the podcast.
And this is all your old video footage. Like, this isn't like stuff you had to dig up from someone else. This is yours.
No, this is stuff that we shot over there. Yeah. I mean, I literally captured everything, from the airport at JFK, going to Southeast Asia, arriving at the hotels, the promo stuff that we did. Of course, I had multi-cameras there for the matches. And then with my handy camcorder, I shot a lot of candid stuff. So, if there ever comes a day and then we could put it all together to make a special out of it, I mean, it would be such a great thing to do. Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna have a good one today, and I'd love
a real quick question. Just because of the tour itself, you never released a tape out to like the ether of this after you came back, right?
No, I mean, there was never anything organized. I put a few clips here and there up on YouTube, and
I meant like back in the day, 30 years ago.
Oh no one had ever seen it.
When I go to those websites that list everybody's matches, I was in Wendy Richter the other day, and none of your tour is on there. And I thought
it wasn't really documented. I mean, we were in Southeast Asia, and that was very rare for wrestling to even go there. Kevin will probably know more about that. I mean, because he did spend a lot of time over there in Southeast Asia, and he was for me. I mean, bringing Kevin aboard on this tour was probably one of my first calls, just because of how fondly I felt for him and Nancy. When you go back with somebody from 1975. That's an enduring friendship, and I'm so happy that I could still call him a friend today after so many years. But why don't we bring Kevin on? Let's do it.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Kevin.
Great to see you guys.
Great to see you. I have to say, first and foremost, that I have been pleasantly surprised that Kevin Sullivan is now on social media.
Yeah. I mean, I live on an island that couldn't be any more isolated. I thought I'd come in to the world again.
Well, I mean, it's probably a welcome addition, because Twitter and are you on Twitter and Instagram, or what?
Yes.
What are your accounts?
Yes, I'm on both. You can find them. In fact, go to. I'd like you to go and check out the Conrad platform, because it's Tuesday nights with the Taskmaster. Look it up, and it gives you everything you need to know.
Oh, cool! So you're doing a podcast with the ad-free shows now with Conrad?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'll be doing. I shoot my first one next week, and it will be up in probably 2 to 3 weeks. We'll be every Tuesday.
He's got quite the lineup. I mean, between Mick Foley, everybody's there with Conrad. All of you great legends are there with his platform, and that's great news for wrestling fans, because hey, listen, who has more stories and who has more experience and who is more of a straight shooter than you?
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I went to Conrad's Patreon special that he has for his fans.
The Top Guys Weekend.
Yes. Spectacular.
Yes, he knows how to do it right.
Brother, if I'm ever going to have a party thrown, brother, he's the guy to throw it. I mean, the people, they came. There was probably 200 people.
Yes.
He had Jeff Jarrett, and we all were at a table inside the ring, and we talked about booking a show. Like that night, they had a show. We booked the show. Actually, the people booked the show, but we had Jeff Jarrett.
Bischoff was there, right? David Crockett. Crockett was there.
Yeah. Punky Morton.
Yeah.
And myself. It was very, very good. And then he had Tom Pritchard there giving demonstrations and teaching guys how to work in the ring. It was done really, really spectacular. I'm just happy to be aboard with him.
Well, that's awesome. And where can they find you on social media? What are your handles on Facebook, on Twitter?
Hold on for a second. I've got to.
Well, I could find it too. I could.
I have
find
it.
Right on my
I have
phone.
it right here.
Yeah,
On Instagram, and I'm going to put it right down below here. There's Real Kev Sullivan.
Yeah.
And then if you go also to Taskmaster Talks on Instagram, those link together as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. I just got them, so I just want to make sure.
Oh,
yeah.
And his Cameo is up there too. Cameo.com/TaskmasterKS.
Oh, good. So everyone can find Kevin now. And Kevin, you doing all right out there on the West Coast?
Yeah. I'm doing really. I live on an island north of Seattle. The islands like it's the San Juan Islands. They were, if you look at the map, you know how the border between Canada and the United States is a straight line?
Yes.
Until it gets to these islands. Then it goes up for us to be the United States, and above us is the first island in Canada, which is Vancouver Island. And that was because the War of 1812 with the English, that's the whole thing that turned out about it, was the line was changed. So it wasn't a big deal, but it's nice out here, especially this time of year.
Did you go to the All-Star game?
No, I was going to go, but I caught a sinus infection. And you talk about being in pain. I mean, it was brutal. So
you still following the Red Sox, though? I'm
yeah,
sure.
I still follow them. I still go. It's I have a friend that runs the Red Sox Hall of Fame, so he can get me tickets, and I go on Family and Friends.
Yes.
and it's nice. Last year I went to Baltimore, in Cleveland, Kansas City, Seattle, Fenway, Yankee Stadium, and Atlanta. So it was cool.
Yeah, I love baseball, and that I'm back in baseball too. I do a weekly podcast with the former manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, John Gibbons. He was my roommate when I worked with the Mets in the early '80s, and we had a chance yesterday, Kevin. I think you probably dig this. I had a chance with Gibby yesterday to interview Don Mattingly, which was really a very cool interview. He's a bench coach now for the Blue Jays, and we had Donnie Baseball on the show, and so each week I get a chance to talk to, great baseball personalities and, how much my passion is for baseball like you have it. It's great to be able to make a living doing a baseball podcast with a guy that I've known for 42 years now, John Gibbons.
That's great. That's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, friendships are enduring. I mean, you and I met when you were just kind of a rookie in 1975, I think it was.
Yeah, it was the fall of '75.
Yep.
I was to do TVs.
Yes, and I was going to school up in Boston at the time, and of course you were from up there, and we just kind of developed friendship. You were one of the first, one of the boys who kind of like befriended me, and you helped me, you mentored me over the years, and I got so many, and I got to send these to you. I got so many pictures of you from those early days at Madison Square Garden, backstage, in the ring. So I shot so many photos of you, and I don't know if you have a lot of that stuff from the mid '70s, but I'm going to find a way to get these files over to you, so you could have them.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, thank you.
And I know I sent Marsh a bunch of them yesterday. So, but anyway, it's so happy to have you here. I mean, 30 years ago, we went on an adventure together with a bunch of other nuts.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
Southeast Asia. I had started. I had met a booking agency, a guy through Ron Scholar, who was my attorney, who we did the AAA deal with. And he introduced me to a guy from a talent agency in New Jersey who had all these overseas connections. And there was interest in wrestling. And we got involved with each other. And before you know it, he booked a tour of Southeast Asia for almost 3 weeks at the end of June, early July of '93. And you were one of my first calls with Nancy, of course, Konnan, DDP, Bob Orton, Greg Valentine, Pat Tanaka, some local guys, the Power Twins, Sonny Beach, Wendy Richter, Madusa. We had the Warlord Barbarian. Paul. So we had a
Greg Valentine.
Valentine. Yeah, we had a star-studded lineup.
Right.
It was huge.
Yeah. Diamond Dallas Page.
Yeah, DDP. That was his first tour ever.
Jake and Paulie Dangerously.
Was there for the first. He left the middle of the tour. I mean, that's where he put Rocco Rock and Ted Petty together. I mean, Ted Petty and Johnny Mike Dorham, who was Johnny Grunn. So that's where he kind of put Public Enemy together. And I believe it was the first time you had met Konnan. So it was. What memories stand out before we get to some of the clips of some of that time period when we went over there, Kevin?
It was just, they say the grandeur of Asia. I mean, the food, the sights, you really acclimated well to it, John. I mean, he had everybody hanging on his arm. I mean, we went to Cebu, right?
Yes, the island. They put us on an island, remember?
Yeah, Cebu City. Yeah, very famous island in the Philippines. We had those huts right on the water. It was wonderful. I mean,
it was.
The grandeur of Asia was terrific.
Yeah, I have a lot of footage of that, of the entire island. I don't have the footage. I've kind of edited the footage out of me getting oiled by some of the locals.
Yeah, I actually had a wonderful a couple of days there because I went diving. It was
Yes.
really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone
Was
kind of.
there-
It's always good, Marsh.
Was there any hesitation when you got the call from John about doing this tour? Because you
No.
had never been out there, right?
Oh, did you say I'd never been?
No, I'm asking, had you ever been out that way?
Oh, yeah, I've been there quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
So I love that part of the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you jumped right on it? No hesitation?
No hesitation. And, it's my friend John, so I
Well.
knew everything was going to be great.
Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, and to have somebody, an ally with you. I mean, because Jake is Jake. Jake is Jake. That's the only thing I'll say about Jake Roberts. Jake is Jake. But most of the boys that on that trip, I mean, Orton was great.
Right.
Valentine was great. Wendy Richter and Madusa and the Mexican Minis stole the show almost every night.
Right.
And Konnan was just so happy to be there. And you got a really good guy like Ted Petty with you, and all the others, and Warlord Barbarian. I mean,
Right.
Nothing is ever perfect in life. I mean, but I think we had a great troop of guys there, and it was a really cool part of the world, and they treated us very well.
Yes, they did. And it was very well run. I mean, the food backstage was top notch. I mean, it wasn't like cold cuts and spaghetti. It was veal cutlets. It was prongs. It was just wonderful. Thai soup. It was just a wonderful, wonderful. Food was great. The sights were great. It was just a great experience. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. The first thing that we did once we got there, because I remember we flew from JFK on Singapore Airlines,
Right.
and we had to stop in Germany before. That was kind of just a stop to refuel or whatever it was.
Right.
And then we landed in Singapore, and it was like a total of 20 hours going over there. And the first thing we did was they took us right to a press conference where all the media was assembled. And you were there. I pulled a clip from that, Marsh, and Kevin will be able to see this as we watch it too.
You should.
Good. So, Kevin, here's a little clip of the press conference, and this is where you were at the table and said some things. Virtually every major wrestling federation has his two comrades on his left. Greg the Hammer Valentine, who needs no introduction. He has been former World Tag Team Champion. The list of titles that he has held is endless. And to his left is perhaps the most talented woman wrestler in the entire world, also competing throughout the Orient, throughout the United States. And she has a rough time finding opponents because no one wants to get into the ring with her. Her name is Madusa. And once again, if you have any questions for any of the athletes here, feel free to ask.
This question for you, actually.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of what does the record kinds of matches?
Okay, what we're going to do is this. The first night here in Singapore, Terry Funk, who was supposed to appear with us, was injured in the match in Philadelphia. What we decided to do, Jake Roberts has an open contract with the company. He says he will take on any and all comers. That night, first night here in Singapore, we've decided to do a battle royal. Battle royal is all the athletes will be in one ring at one time. The only way to get eliminated in this type of match is to get thrown out over the top rope. The last man left in the ring will take on Jake the Snake Roberts for the IWS Championship. The Powers of Pain will also defend their tag team titles. Konnan, who was here a little while ago, the light heavyweight champion, will also defend his title. And there will be a match for the women's IWAS championship between Madusa. Her opponent will be Wendy Richter from the United States. And it will be one exciting night of wrestling, as will the three shows that we do here. I don't want to spill the beans too much because we have some exciting things planned for the shows on Saturday as well.
Can you just tell us how many matches there will be?
There'll be approximately 8 matches per card.
Okay.
Now, Kevin, I'm sure that you have been familiar with this part of the world. Actually, if you can just talk to the folks out there and tell them what you feel about this part of the world, and maybe speak for the group here as far as about your feelings about being here.
Well, first of all, International Wrestling All-Stars is going to be the foremost group internationally in the world. They're going to take over the #1 spot in a short period of time. I've wrestled here on many occasions. In fact, I've defeated some of the biggest names that you people remember, Steve Rickard, and I defeated the legendary Mark Lewin here on numerous occasions. And the talent that you people have seen in the years, during those years, was Lewin and King Curtis and Don Morocco and Steve Rickard. And in fact, last night I was here, I had a controversial win over Ric Flair and Steve Rickard interfering. But those cards, as good as they were, aren't anything on par with what you're going to see. The talent right here assembled in this room is phenomenal. I mean, everybody here at this table goes without saying one of the top wrestlers, not of this time, but of all times. I mean, and I don't have any grudges against anybody else that was here before. Konnan is a great champion in a different part of the world. Jake the Snake is a great competitor. But the thing is, we're all trying to make a niche for ourselves in this new company. And coming here to Singapore with a cosmopolitan country, you know, we all know that this is the blending part of the world. And people here have seen everything. And people here are a lot more educated than some of the places we've gone to, even in our home country. So here, we got to put it on the line. And I really believe you're going to see the best 3 shows that you could possibly see. You're not going to see a cartoon show like the WWF. What you're going to see is wrestlers performing their skill, which is wrestling. And I think you guys are going to be very, very surprised. There was a great wrestler in this area named Konnan, as everybody remembers. Well, at this end of the table, there were 2 guys that make Konnan look like a midget. And on this end of the table, at the very end, when John said about Madusa, women don't like to get in the ring with her, the reason why that is she's probably the toughest woman in the wrestling business today. She has had to go to Japan to get competition. Now, Wendy Richter's coming, and Wendy Richter was the world's ladies champion at one time. I don't envy Wendy Richter a bit when she gets here. I think her hands are going to be full. Greg the Hammer Valentine, I don't have to go over his legendary accomplishments. I mean, everybody knows who he is. He's held every major title in the NWA and the WWF, and soon he probably will hold the International Wrestling All-Stars title, or at least be knocking on the door. With Terry Funk's injury, which happened because of me in Philadelphia, it throws this title up for grabs, you know, and seems to me some of the critics and some of the people that follow our sport think Jake the Snake is going to walk away with it here in Singapore. Well, I've been here a long time, and I plan to come back here, and I want to come out of here, if not the champion, at least giving a good showing of myself, because I know what it means in this part of the world to be a success. Thank you, guys.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Lucy, would you like to say something about Wendy?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Going back a long time. And
Everyone looked younger.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? I was looking at Barbarian, and now I'm saying, who's the other guy? Boy, he looks completely different with the hair on his head, doesn't he?
Yes.
The Warlord,
yeah, Terry. Yeah. I mean, that was kind of cool in the way you handled the press conference. I mean, the press took it seriously there. They know there was a big event coming, and there was even an angle when Jake was there, when DDP threw water in his face, and so I mean, the people, the press, I mean, they were there eating it up, and
Right.
and you did a fabulous job there at that first press conference.
Well, thank you, John. You know, as you found out, Marsh, in Singapore, most people speak 5 languages or more. It is the melting pot of the world. Everybody's been there. The Portuguese, the Germans, the English, the Japanese, people from Indonesia, Malaysia. It just goes on and on and on. It's very well educated people, very well educated people. And everybody there has a job. There's no unemployment. Very, very, and super clean place. Yes.
Beautiful country.
Yeah, we had a wonderful time.
We did. And, that they opened the door, they rolled the red carpet out for us. And the one thing I regret, Kevin, is that we never really got the chance to go back,
Yeah.
Because, when you do something that people take notice of in the wrestling business, then all of a sudden the vultures come out,
Yeah.
So as soon as the word got out that we were doing this, and we'll be covering this on the next week's show, Marsh, WCW, like I was saying, they jumped in and they sent people over there almost as soon as we got back from the tour to try to get TV there.
But they didn't, did they, John?
No, they couldn't put it together. No. So that was kind of odd, but that's the wrestling business.
Yeah.
Once we got over to the Philippines, because what we did here, this press conference preceded by a week or 2 weeks our actual live shows there, because we were doing Philippines and Cebu City. The Hong Kong show we were supposed to do got shelved for whatever the reason was. Probably not good ticket sales, I would imagine. But this press conference in Singapore was our first stop, and then we went over to the Philippines to wrestle in Manila at the arena there. And the next clip we're going to play, Kevin, I think you're going to get a kick out of this. I don't know if you remember this gentleman or not, who they assigned to do all the promos with us. All I know is his name was Luna, and he had the best facial expressions everywhere, and he just played it up. And so I pulled a clip of you and Nancy getting interviewed by Luna. So why don't we go to that clip right now, Marsh?
Wow.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, gentlemen. Maswerte ako ngayon. On my right side is a handsome gentleman by the name of Sullivan. On my left side is your name, please.
Fallen Angel.
Leave the woman alone. Let me tell you something. I've been around this part of the world. I have bathed in the river Ganges with the pilgrims. I have been to Calcutta and laid with the lepers. I went to Singapore and laid with the pipe. You understand? This is a battle royal. 14 men in the ring at one time. People are talking about friends. People are talking about foes. I just want to tell you, when I was a little kid, my hobby was going down to the junkyard, and I used to get a spike, and I used to chase all the rats into one corner. And sometimes I'd have 14 little scrimey rats clinging to get away from me. And I would just spike them and spike them and spike them. That's what will happen today. What do we do now?
Oh, leave it to me.
Would you say something?
I'll do it.
5, 4, 3, 2.
So you're fighting Sunny Beach.
Sunny Beach, this is like when you're in Calcutta or when you're in Cebu City. and the huge waves roll in and crash on the beach. And if anything is laying on the beach, it becomes shattered. It becomes broken. It becomes destroyed, whether it's dreams or reality. Sunny Beach, the International Wrestling All-Stars, didn't come to the Philippines for me not to take it. You understand? I am here, Sunny Beach, to conquer all, and I'm starting with you today.
Very good. Very good.
They were hamming it up.
What a head, huh? What a head he had. Could have been on the high bottle.
The facial expressions, especially when he did Konnan and the Mexican Minis and Orton and Madusa. I mean, he was a star, that guy.
Yeah.
Natural.
Yes, he was.
And the mic was on point. It was right under your mouth where it needed to be. And as much as he was goofing off with Nancy, the mic was right where you needed it.
Right.
Yeah. And the promos were great. The promos were great. And Marsh, I don't know if you pulled the clip or not, where we cut that promo on the beach, or should we go right to the clip of Kevin against Sunny Beach in the ring?
I have the beach promo clips where it's about 3 minutes long. You kind of, I think you reshot it a couple times like that one too.
Yeah. Do you want to see those, Kevin?
Whatever, which ones you think will.
Yeah, we met in Tampa. Paul Heyman and myself flew down there, and I guess we lost Kevin again.
Oh, yeah.
There he is. So we flew down to Tampa and we cut some promos on the beach with the Powers of Pain, Heyman, yourself and Nancy, and so we pulled a few of those. And why don't we play those, and then we're going to go to a match they did against Sunny Beach.
I'm Kevin Sullivan. I'm with the hottest wrestling group of all times, International Wrestling All-Stars, and I'm coming to your hometown. You better be there, because if you're not, I'm going to walk down your house, kick down your door, snatch you off the couch, and bring you down there anyway. Okay? Okay. Same thing? Okay. I'm Kevin Sullivan, and this is none other than the Fallen Angel, and we're coming to your town, International All-Stars, the hottest ticket this summer. Be there. International Wrestling also. Okay.
Make sure you hold your pose at the end.
Okay.
You can have enough room to edit.
I'm Kevin Sullivan, and this is the Fallen Angel, and the hottest ticket this summer is International Wrestling All-Stars. Be there. It's coming to your town. You know, the Fallen Angel is going to accompany me, Kevin Sullivan, to the hottest ticket in the world today, International Wrestling All-Stars, and they're coming to your town. Be there. The two baddest apples in the whole world are Terry Funk and Kevin Sullivan. Well, I'm Kevin Sullivan, and this is the Fallen Angel. You see, Terry Funk, if I lose to you, I'll even give it to you. I ain't gonna lose ever to you, Terry Funk. Ha ha ha. Terry Funk, no company could sign this match, no federation. It took the International Wrestling All-Stars to sign it. You and me, brother, one time only. I'm so confident that I can win, I'll give you the Fallen Angel for a week if I don't. Ha ha ha!
All right, Marsh. You know, that was the match that could have been. You and Terry over there would have torn it up.
Right.
And I got so... it was such a letdown when Terry couldn't make it. But, I mean, that would have been amazing.
Yes, I would have loved to work with Terry over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those fans, and if you noticed, I mean, of course, I mean, they were like almost like a Japanese audience where they would sit there politely and they would just watch it, and then they would pop occasionally, but they were just kind of in awe
Right,
of seeing all these American performers in the ring.
right, right. They you hit it on the head. They were in awe of and they hadn't been jaded. They had seen wrestling, but that was when Barnett was running it.
Mm.
And then Rickard ran it, and they ran it pretty tight. You know what I mean? Not bad finishes, everything mostly straight up. So those people were educated to be good wrestling fans.
Yeah. And we when we were booking this thing, and I think you might have had a part in booking it with Heyman, and I know Jake had his fingers in it as well, but we had all clean finishes too.
Yeah.
We didn't have any schmozzes or anything like that. It was just kind of like 1, 2, 3 submissions, no countouts really. I mean, they were clean finishes throughout the tour.
Right. And that's what we had talked about, John, as I remember. We don't know when we're coming back. Let's make it really competitive and let's make it clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't see that anymore. It's always run-ins or this or that. We didn't even have any run-ins, I don't think. I mean, we didn't have any of that.
I don't think we did. And we try to stay away from it because we're hoping we're coming back, right?
Yeah.
I
And
think
even though we had a few situations where there was some blood spilled, of course, with Orton hitting Tanaka over the head, and he was kind of the uncrowned Filipino champion. I mean, we even put the title on him for a few days.
Right.
I remember.
Right.
People loved it. Go ahead, Marsh.
I was gonna say I don't remember if I remember hearing about the Bob Orton hitting Tanaka. I don't know if that happened at the end of the match or after the match or what, but he did get hit with a title.
Yeah, that was during actually a promo.
During a promo? Fantastic.
Yeah.
So just heating up the story. That's cool.
It was heating up the story
Right.
because we were in that same venue, Kevin. I think we were there for 8 days in the same arena in Manila, and then we went to Cebu. But we were in that same venue for several days.
John, did we not go from Manila to Cebu and then back to Manila?
We might have. We
I
might
think
have
that's
went
what we
to
did. Yeah.
yeah, and then from there, then we shot up to Singapore to finish up.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was what an experience, and we do have. This was kind of almost like one of the only squash matches we had. I would say it was you and Sunny Beach, who you did that promo for a few minutes back that we played for you. So, and what I like about this footage too, Kevin, is like you can hear everything. I mean, the mics that were stationed, because there's no announcers over this, so it really gives it gives a lot of credibility and realism to what's going on in the ring when you can hear everything. So, Marsh, why don't we go to that clip? And Bruce Jacobs, our ring announcer, the guy that Barbarian was pranking the whole time. Referee was Billy Caputo, who unfortunately we lost a few years ago.
He was a great guy.
Great guy. And Henry Terranova was the other ref there.
Slowly into the ring, led by his manager.
Nancy's got such a great look. She looks so glamorous and menacing at the same time.
Yeah. As the
very much
evil genius of wrestling. Here is from Singapore, 250 pounds, Kevin Sullivan.
From Singapore.
That's where he wanted to be billed as.
Right.
Yeah. Hometown hero, huh?
You know, I'd like to say something about Sunny Beach.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know why no big company ever picked him up. He was solid. He could rap. I thought he had a great gimmick. I thought he'd been perfect for WWF at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, he had the look. He did a lot of work with Herb Abrams, but he had, I'm still. Have you talked to Sonny at all recently?
I saw him. I was at a signing about a year and a half ago, and he was nice enough to take me and Andrew Anderson out to a restaurant. I think he owned some points.
Rob Keys, probably Rob Keys on Long Island, right?
It was an Italian restaurant.
Yes.
Excellent food. Yeah.
Yeah, what a great guy. I keep in touch with him a lot, and still, I mean, he just got out of the hospital. He had a defib situation.
Oh, really?
But he's doing okay. But he's doing fine. Every time I go up to New York, we get together, and what a great guy. And he's done very well for himself, real estate holdings, and he owns racehorses, and he's done very well. He probably did much better doing what he did outside of wrestling than he would have done inside of the business if he got picked up by somebody.
Right. I'm glad for him. He was a very nice
Very
guy.
great guy. Well, yeah, great family. He runs a big security company on Long Island as well.
I saw his gym that he has.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was one of the real nice guys, you know, and just a polite dude, never caused problems.
No.
Did his work and was always there to support, and putting you guys together was kind of cool. You know, and Rick Sonny is, you know, he didn't have a ton of experience, but then he was promoting for a while, and he did that whole series with Cactus Jack on the Northeast in 1990, which was really big. They had a regional feud, which did really well.
Good. He's a great guy.
Kevin, didn't you buy a gym at some point too?
I built the gym. Yeah.
You built one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the biggest gym in the Florida Keys.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Around this time, we got a call in earlier. I forget who it was off the top of my head now, but he was talking about how he was buying a Gold's Gym with like Ric Flair and stuff at the time, and it reminded me about how you had built the one.
Yeah, that was the Stan Lane interview we did.
Stan Lane, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Did Stan ever buy that gym with Rick?
I don't know. I know he talked about it on the show 30 years ago. We just covered that. I think it was a week or two ago, Marsh, right?
Yeah. It was like a week or two.
So we don't know. I mean, it's like you listen to these things from 30 years ago, and you're like, did that happen? Did that come through? Or did he actually retire at that time? Because he said he was retiring.
Right.
Yeah. And then like a year later, he ended up broadcasting for WWE, so who knows?
There you go. Nice clothesline, right? This could be the finish. 1, 2. Nope. It was. That was it. Clothesline and a 1, 2, 3.
Simple.
Here's the winner, Kevin.
No interference from Fallen Angel. What is that sign? What is she doing? She was going like this. Yeah, what's that kind of an evil, menacing, I'm watching you thing?
It was great. I mean, yeah, it was kind of cool. I just got to be there, and even just to reminisce with you, Kevin, is really very, very cool. We had a lot of pranks on the tour, as you know. Everyone's always ribbing each other, and I think by the end of the tour, everyone was sick of each other and just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
You know, the Power Twins were always these bullies, and they were picking on the minis throughout the tour, actually terrorizing him, because one of the little guys, Mascarita Sagrada, was afraid of the water. And when we went to that island, I mean, they picking him up and taking him out into the ocean or whatever it was, and scared the shit out of him. And then on the plane trip, Espectrito, the heel, the little chubby guy, fell asleep on the plane. And we have a clip of what happened at that time when the poor little guy was sleeping, and then he wakes up to this. So why don't we play that clip, Marsh? This is on the plane. They poured powder on his head.
Oh yeah, he doesn't have gray hair. It's just all the powder, right?
It's all the powder, yeah.
Well, you can see it in the air above him too.
Yeah, it's almost like a fog. What happened? And we were on there with other passengers.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that.
At least they didn't shave his eyebrows, huh?
Right. Well, that was the one thing about the Twins. They love to rib you, and they never got picked up by a big federation either, because it's a shoot, their disrespect to people. So
Did they ever rib you, Kevin?
No.
That wouldn't go near Kevin. They ain't gonna pull that shit on him.
I was wondering if they were dumb enough,
Plus, I was up first class with John.
Oh.
So
yeah,
much.
That's that. I mean, I just wanted, because we talked about that on the previous show, and felt that the people who listen and watch this are going to get a kick out of it. I got one other clip, Kevin, and it's a short one, probably a few minutes long, I would think. This is our journey back home. We're on the plane. Everyone's kind of happy to be going back to the States, and it was just kind of a nice little way to end this. This look back at the IWAS Tour Southeast Asia. So, Marsh, why don't you go to that last clip now?
I tell you, I wouldn't share a place with
That's Bruce Jacobs, yeah.
Good news, new Bruce Jacobs drawings coming soon.
Big job! Hey, the two gamblers. Hey,
Tanaka.
Manila, brother. The killer is Manila.
The trip is over. Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, John. That's good, John. In here, John? John's hand? We're just getting you back here to get smashed for a little while.
We came on the flight in a good mood. We're coming back in a good mood, which is unusual.
Well, that's good, brother. I'm glad to hear it. It didn't look like you were too happy back here.
I needed to unwind.
Yes.
Last meal.
What?
Last meal of the tour.
What? Meat pies.
Great. You have a good time? Good tour? Everything?
Yes.
Cool.
Good time.
Appreciate your time. Madusa, thank you very much for everything.
Thank you.
I guess you had no makeup on. You didn't want to be seen.
Yeah. Let me get a close up of your new watch.
They did buy each other Rolexes over there in Southeast Asia.
My birthday present.
Yours too is very nice. Wow.
Yeah.
My birthday is January 25th, just in case, one of those.
1995, by the way.
And the engagement ring. Look at that.
Ring is sparkling too.
He set a date, 1995.
Oh yeah.
Did they ever get married or no?
Can I be the ring
I don't
boy?
think they did, right?
Although isn't her birthday in February? This trip was
DDP.
We're at the end of a very long tour, and we made it. I'm feeling a lot better after 12 hours of sleep. Thanks for the tour, brother. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good.
It's funny how it's all back watching movies 30 years ago.
Yeah. Star of Mexico.
Love that guy.
Signed about 1,000 of these. I'm sure you're gonna make a
What was
profit off of
the
these.
highlight of the tour?
This is they're like gremlins every time I turn around, like 4 more appear. What was the highlight of the tour? We checked into Singapore on our way, knowing that we're going back home. It was a fun trip. You're a cool guy. You better invite me to the next tour. First class, 5-star hotels, traveling hookers. I mean, I want
Oh, you got barbers back there.
Do you still have any of those programs, John?
No.
Because you got everyone signing them all right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you give them away for call-ins and stuff?
I think at the convention that year I was selling them there.
Yeah, those would have flown.
Yeah. And I may have one that I have personally. I don't have any of that stuff anymore, unfortunately. But then, Jake signing and that was it, really.
Did you work with Pat Tanaka very much, Kevin? Because you guys seemed really tight back there.
Oh, well, his dad owned part of the Florida office.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Duke Tanaka, who's a big star in Texas and in Florida and in LA, and had part of with Baba. It was very tight. So, yeah, had a wonderful. I've had a great relationship with the Tanakas.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great memory to go back 30 years, Kevin. And
Yep.
I mean, and I'm so happy for you to be in business with Conrad now and doing what you're going to be doing with him. And I mean, people need to hear your stories. I mean, you were there for so much of it, from Florida Championship Wrestling to everything that you've experienced in your life and your career. My goodness, I mean, and we're happy that you're still talking about it and you're reminiscing, and now you're on social media where people can even see some of this content that you have and some of the share the old pictures and get your perspective on it.
John, I want to show you something.
Okay.
Can you see this book?
Yeah.
Yeah. Old school.
Yeah. John, it's by, I met the person that wrote the book. It goes back to it's all I can say is it's like The Sopranos meets wrestling.
No shit.
Oh, cool.
It's very interesting. The names, it could be anybody, but you could boil it down into one or two people. And I think there's going to be 3 books. It was very intriguing. It talks about what happened, what could have happened, and like in the comic books, you know, those alternate universes.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very entertaining. So if you get a chance, it's like I said, it's Old School by L.A. Taylor. I've been
L.A. Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
That's cool.
All right. Well, listen, Kevin, I'd love to bring you back sometime, and I mean, admire you, respect you, always have, always will. One of my dearest friends in wrestling, and I want to thank you for your time today, and I appreciate you reminiscing with us today.
Anytime, my friend. I'd like to come back and do it again. And Marsh, very nice meeting you.
Very nice to see you, man.
Take care,
guys.
Kevin.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The amazing Kevin Sullivan.
He's so cool. When White Rini said that he was doing a podcast with Conrad, I lit up because I've said it before that he was one of the few I thought should be doing it who's not, you know. There's
He
a
had
few
one out
names.
there though that Taskmaster Tales. There's been a podcast out for a few years.
Oh yeah. Well, the idea that it's on a larger platform is good because now people will hear it.
Absolutely. And you know, he's got too much history in this business, and of course, you know, tragedies as well. I mean, you know,
he was involved in so much.
Yeah, and he's still active, which is really, really good. It was really good. When I ran into him for the first time in many, many years at CAC in 2019, it was a thrill for me just to give him a hug, you know.
Did he recognize you from across the room?
We were at the next table.
Yeah.
From each other, yes.
So
and
cool.
he was there with Anderson. And I actually introduced Anderson to him years ago, or at one of my conventions they met, and they've been lifelong friends. Like they're joined at the hip. They go everywhere together.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, just
cool.
another little bit of, like, you know, what I call genie dust when you sprinkle it on somebody and good things happen. So they've been friends for years and years and years, as he has. But well, that, you know, finishes up that special part of the first half of the show, I would guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how much you want to go into all the different clips and stuff because we did cover it. You did mention somewhere, I didn't pull the clip. The Hong Kong show, I do want to say, was canceled because of ticket sales. You told Donnie that in one of the
on the show. On the show.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you had mentioned it got canceled. You just didn't have the tickets, which I thought was crazy. Do they get a lot of wrestling up there, or is they just afraid to go out?
No. I don't know if it was a lack of promotion by the promoters. You don't really know.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was just no interest in it because it hadn't been there. Maybe there was no TV on a regular basis for people to be familiar with it. Could have been a lot of things.
Yeah, that could be. But you do have 2 episodes, the July 3rd and July 10th, both opened by Donnie. He has about 6 minutes or 7 minutes or so before he's able to get you to call in. Really interesting because of however it is their lines work there. You guys couldn't be on the same line at the same time. So, like he would say something and then you'd hear a big beep before you would come in. And then when
yes.
Yeah, and so you guys really couldn't go back and forth much. So I don't have a ton of that, but
Well, I mean, everyone could hear it all on Patreon. I mean, the original shows are going to be up there for everybody to hear in their entirety anyway. And these two were only half-hour shows anyway.
yes, 2 half-hour shows. So we do have 2 capsules and whatnot. Do you want to hear the capsule of the first one just to hear what's going on in wrestling time?
Yeah, I guess that's part of our mainstay, right? Each and every week to find out what happened 30 years ago, other than the IWAS tour. Let's give it a shot.
And Donnie did his best and gave his best and prepared. It would be rude of us not to.
As always.
Okay, leading off the capsule, well, the World Wrestling Federation once again takes center spotlight as tomorrow morning aboard the USS Intrepid, the big slam contest takes place. The WWF champion Yokozuna will be tested by wrestlers, a jockey, football, basketball, and hockey players, all attempting to body slam the billed 500-pound-plus Samoan. Lex Luger is the best bet at pulling it off. Other news surrounding the Federation, the Nasty Boys are officially gone and are said to be negotiating for a return to the WCW. And the August 30th SummerSlam, that show will be the farewell appearances for Ted DiBiase and Sensational Sherry with the promotion. For DiBiase, a 20-week deal per year has been struck with All Japan Promotions, and Sherry will be taking bookings with the independent groups. Owen Hart captured the USWA heavyweight title in Memphis, Tennessee 2 weeks back from Papa Shango. A heel in that territory looked for Owen and Jerry the King Lawler to feud in the South, and right now Hart is managed by Bert Prentice in the USWA. WWF TV cameras will be rolling Monday at the Manhattan Center for a live Monday Night Raw show. Tuesday in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, and on Wednesday in Salisbury, Maryland will be the regular monthly TV tapings, and expect the Mountie to return to the Federation on Tuesday's show. In World Championship Wrestling news, on this past Wednesday's TV tapings in Atlanta, several new faces debuted. One, the Colossal Kongs, King and Awesome from Texas. They were managed by Harley Race. Also appearing Top Gun under a mask and the Equalizer, both from Oregon. Now, the Equalizer's appearance resembles that of the late Bruiser Brody, and it's said that he will be teaming up with Rick Rude. Also from the Global Wrestling Federation, Booker T and Stevie Ray were on hand. First billed as the Posse, managed by Colonel Robert Parker, then renamed Chi-Town Heat. As the Posse, the two wrestlers were escorted to the ring wearing, get this, chains, shackles, and were in striped prison wear. On the injury list this past week, three WCW belt wearers were missing bookings. WCW champion Big Van Vader has a herniated disc. NWA titleist Barry Windham blew out a knee a couple weeks back. And WCW TV Pin King Paul Orndorff is suffering from a torn groin muscle. Now, all three are day-to-day from now until the July 18th Beach Blast pay-per-view. And due to negative fan reactions, WCW brass has taken off its TV programs, the Search for Cactus Jack reports, and the now infamous Beach Blast mini-movie. Smoky Mountain Wrestling had a couple of title changes recently. In Council, Virginia, the Bruise Brothers won the SMW tag belts from the Rock and Roll Express with the help of Jim Cornette. And SMW TV titleist Bobby Blaze lost his championship to the Masked Yankee, who turned out to be not George Steinbrenner, but the Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony. SMW has a show tonight in Barberville, Kentucky. In international ring happenings, former AWA heavyweight champion Jumbo Tommy Tsuruta was released from a Japanese hospital after a lengthy stay due to a liver ailment and expects to return to the mat on December 3rd in Budokan Hall. And the 6th annual Bruiser Brody Memorial Card, put on by All Japan Promotions, is scheduled for July 18th. Former WWF Intercontinental Champion Roddy Piper appeared on a AAA show in Mexico City and accompanied Love Machine Art Barr, both from the Portland, Oregon area, into the ring. Now, Piper is in Mexico City filming a movie. From the scrapbook files we go this week in wrestling history. On July 7th, 1990, it was in Baltimore, Maryland that Sting won the WCW title from Ric Flair for the first time. And also on July 7th of 1986, wrestling's greatest magazine photographer, Gene Gordon, passed away at the age of 62. And let us be the first to say happy birthday to Barry Windham and Sid Vicious, both born on the 4th of July. For the Pro Wrestling Spotlight, I'm Don Libel reporting. Capsule time, 11:08.
Lots of stuff there in that little capsule, wasn't there?
Yeah, I felt like he was trying to maximize his time because he didn't have any of those, like, one more things. He knew that he couldn't really bounce off of you. Because yeah, he had like 5 or 6 minutes before they could get you on the line because it was like a 12 or 14 hour difference, I think.
Something like that, yeah, and, the fact that I was able to even to call in live from overseas, that was kinda cool to do, and Donnie, of course, always steps up,
Yes.
and he actually had a really good bunch of questions for me as well.
Yes, he wanted to know right away what the fans were like, what the fan reaction is like, what the tickets uh, uh, prices were. He was asking about how much you were selling each thing for. He was trying to get a real feeling for like capacity and money making and all that stuff, which I thought was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I don't know why he probably had his job and all that because I did wanna take him over there, but, it couldn't work out. And the other disappointment, I mean, talking to Kevin and seeing the promos that were cut was Terry Funk, man, because that would
Mm,
have been amazing to have Terry on that tour.
that would have been wild. Who was with you recording stuff? Because I was thinking that during the press conference, there was a lot of weird zooming in and out that wasn't you.
No, because I was up at the podium.
Exactly.
So it was probably Bruce
Bruce.
Jacobs. Yeah.
Donnie would never. It was just kind of shaky, and I was like, "Oh, who's holding that?"
Yeah.
So it's cool that you were able to take Bruce with you, though, at the very least, and do some ring announcing. Just to was half of that just so he can get out of the country and see it?
It was more like I needed a right hand there
Mm,
because it was, I was promoting and not promoting, but I was the producer. I wasn't the promoter. The promoter is the one who books the venue and promotes it. I was the guy that was putting it together as the producer, even though it was my company.
yeah,
IWAS was my company. And Bruce, I mean, because he helped with the merch, because we brought merch over. We had caps, we had posters, we had those programs.
yeah.
And you needed someone to be there with you, assisting you the whole time. Because and he and I, we took turns on the ring announcing
Oh, you did some
as
too?
well. Oh, I did, yeah, yeah. And on some of the clips, I mean, every time DDP would be introduced, and when I was in the ring doing the ring announcing, he'd come into the ring, and as soon as I'd start to mention his name, he'd shove me down on the mat.
What the
Yeah. And at me, and I was probably, I don't know, 70 pounds more than I am now. At least I was
yeah.
probably 350. Uh, at that time, I was huge. It wasn't easy for me to get up.
I was about to say getting up probably was taking your hands on the ropes and everything.
Yeah. 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 All of that. And then Paul E would be there because he was managing DDP
Yeah.
during some of that stuff. And it was hilarious. And, but anyway, I mean, it was just, the memories flood back after all these years, but I'm just happy to be able to talk about it today.
Do you think you had roughly 10,000 pounds of merchandise?
Oh, no. No.
Okay, just curious. The Warrior was gonna, so
I do know that I brought some stuff. I mean, you got custom-made suits over there, silk suits that we all kind of went to this place and got some really cool custom-made suits while we were there.
do you have anything left from that tour besides maybe that one program you might have laying around?
I have all the footage.
Just the footage?
Yeah. I mean, the footage is
Cool.
gold. I mean,
I mean, that's everything.
you just saw little clips. I mean,
Yeah.
just can imagine what I have. I mean, I pulled at just today on the hard drive. All right, clip of this, clip of that. There's probably 12 1-hour tapes,
Yeah.
and there's still like camcorder stuff too. That is a lot of the travel and the touring of the cities and this and just the poverty that was in the Philippines in comparison to the affluence that was in Singapore.
Yeah.
So capturing all of that and the TV shows that we did and the promos that were cut with Loon. I mean, there's so much there. I do think that there would be a market for a complete video of
Mhm.
what went down from the beginning, from JFK Airport, when Jake took that freaking snake out of the bag and he started chasing the Singapore Airlines rep, that was a pretty young girl, and he took the snake out of the bag. He started chasing her because we had our own separate holding area that they put us in.
Yeah.
And then she reported the snake, and we had to go find a snake for him overseas because they wouldn't let him take it. They confiscated it.
So then that was that. Then that snake's just gone now.
Gone. Well, he probably killed so many of them because he used to keep them in a suitcase for the most part when he was traveling. I mean,
I heard about like a trunk.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so that's and
He's
it
even told the story
wasn't
about how
easy
one.
it wasn't easy to get a snake overseas either. And
Probably.
that guy that Kevin was talking about before we started taping knew kind of how to do this or how to do that, and he was our handler for
Yeah.
the agency. Eddie was his name, and he knew how to navigate. And he also got Cowboy Bob out of trouble when we're on that flight going over to Germany, and everyone was drinking. Jake was doing more than drinking, but Cowboy Bob had a few too many, and he accused the Singapore Airlines flight attendant, one of them, of stealing his fanny pack, and he was going wild. And we were landing, and then he finds it in the overhead compartment. That's where he put it. But that was not before armed security guards came on our plane with rifles. And Eddie, the guy that was our handler, was able to talk him out of being removed from the plane and placed in jail.
That was at the beginning?
That was on our way over there.
You're like, this will be good. This is fine.
I mean, that's the thing. Is like, you put guys on a plane for 20 hours and people drink.
Yeah.
And then, and they're wrestlers. So it's party time. Party all the time. And everyone got into some shit over there.
Well, how many hours of footage do you have?
Wow. I probably have 15 hours of stuff.
So I was thinking it could be like that
least.
Get Back series from the Beatles, except it'd be
Yeah.
IWAS.
No, I mean, the thing that really enticed me a little over a year ago was that Pro Wrestling TV cable, the streaming service. They wanted to do a doc, and they sent over contracts, and there was no money guaranteed. So I'm like, why am I going to do that? I'm not going to. Why would I do this?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think a documentary on this would be kind of fascinating for wrestling fans.
I think it would, because it was a massive lineup.
It was.
Like, those are major names that even if you see those names on a meet and greet now, you go, damn, they got a lot of big people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's
maybe
a real who's who.
maybe we could put something together, do a doc, and then have a mini autograph signing, because a lot of these guys are still alive.
Yeah.
Most of the people on that tour are still alive. We haven't lost. We lost the referee Billy Caputo, but I don't think any of the we lost both of the minis. They're both passed away.
Yeah.
But the remainder of everyone is still with us.
Yeah. I mean, we could put together a
kind
little
of
DVD.
premiere a little, have a screening and then an autograph session, and that's kind of an interesting idea.
I wonder how many of them have stories they'd be willing to tell about it. Because that was the one thing. I mean, I love Kevin Sullivan. I thought it was really interesting to have him on there. I was kind of hoping he would break out a story about something. He was just mostly talking about how good the food was and how nice the time was. And I was kind of waiting for one night we went out and
Yeah.
I wonder how many would open up about some of the crazy shenanigans.
If they even remember.
Yeah, well, it's true too.
But we had our situations, and I don't know if you pull clips or not about the crashing of the party. Did you pull that one? Or was that on the way? That might have been on the next show. I don't know. It was like when Pat Tanaka and Mike Dorham, Johnny Rotten Grunge, the guy that was in Public Enemy, a great guy. They crashed the party of Imelda Marcos's at the Manila Hotel. And they actually got in and met her.
Yeah.
Because her grandson was a big wrestling fan, and then they wound up going to one of our shows.
It's nice. We'll see. I think that I have because Donnie brought it up. He's the one who asked you about it. And
okay.
I don't know if that was before you started telling him about all the laws there, because the Power Twins come on and they talk about chewing bubble gum everywhere. And but I did pull a clip just because we don't hear a ton from Bob Orton.
Right.
He was on for like a minute and a half or something, and he cut kind of this promo. I thought was really neat.
Okay. Let's give it a listen.
Thank you. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to go directly to a guy that really has stirred up the crowds here. Matter of fact, the one title change that's happened here, he was involved with it. He's now International Wrestling All-Stars champion, and that is Cowboy Bob Orton. Bob, how you doing?
Very good, thank you.
And you have really stirred the crowds up here in Manila. Is this the first time you've wrestled in this part of the world?
The first time I've been on the islands, yes. I've been over in Southeast Asia, but never over here to Manila. You know, I'd heard a little while ago you said when I beat Roberts, everyone in the building was shocked. And you're right, everyone in the building was shocked.
Yes, hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Everyone in the building was shocked except for me, because I know on any given day at any given time, you get two great wrestlers like Roberts and myself, you never know who's going to win. This time, I was the lucky one. I come out on top. What's going to happen next?
Well,
right now, Daddy, I'm the champion. It feels good.
Well, right now you are the champion, and last night here, another big situation took place where, in a tag team situation, you took that championship belt, the newly made championship belt, and you actually smashed it over the head of Pat Tanaka, who was also here, and busted him wide open. Fans, that was something that I don't think they've ever seen before, and just between you defeating Roberts for the title the other night and busting Tanaka open last night, you're probably the most hated man in the Philippines here, aside from
well,
Marcos.
That's okay with me, because these people over here, you know, they're great wrestling fans and everything else, but my God, are they ugly. And I really don't care what they feel about me one way or the other. As far as Pat Tanaka, the match was over last night. He should have left the ring, but no, them glory hounds want to stick around and look tough. Well, let me tell you something. I showed him just how tough he was when he was stitching him up.
All right, listen, Bob, we want to thank you for your time, and we'll have some more personalities joining us.
Yeah, that clip that we were just discussing, I mean, that's on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. That angle is on there, as are some other classic footage from this tour.
Yeah, if anyone goes up to go to videos, just do a reverse time, because
they were posted early on.
Yeah, early on. I wouldn't be shocked if that was one of your primary reasons for opening your YouTube, was to get these videos somewhere.
Yeah, I wanted to provide content from the archives, and then of course when we started the video version of this podcast, I mean that's the majority of the stuff that's on there. But there's plenty of great content there. You got to subscribe to that YouTube channel. Yeah, I mean there's really some classic stuff on there.
Yeah, it's awesome. I just like hearing a heel Bob Orton.
Yeah,
especially because I mean I'm obviously from a different generation. I think of Randy Orton as one of the greatest heels. I hear this old promo from Bob Orton, I go, that didn't come from nowhere.
Yeah, you know what? One of my biggest regrets are, Marsh. I mean, in 1996, I was promoting, right?
Yeah.
And we had sold the show to a guy in Joplin, Missouri, who had some really deep connections there in the wrestling business. And they were interested. The local TV station, it was interested in the wrestling show, like a weekly wrestling show. And the first show that we taped, Orton was there, and he brought his son, this teenager, Randy, who was introduced to me. We did an interview with him and his dad for TV, and I never got the tapes. The deal never happened.
Wow.
But there's a whole 1 hour show, because they shot the show in Joplin, which at that time was Tito Santana against Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event. Tito was IWAS champion at that time, even though the promotion did sporadic shows. Honky Tonk Man was there against Greg Valentine, and Jimmy Snuka against Metal Maniac was there, and we had other pretty big names, and the venue did really well. That card or that match with Snuka and Maniac, that is on YouTube as well. Someone did some hand footage. It wasn't the multi-camera that the promoter did, but that's kind of a big regret, because I would have loved to have that interview with Randy as a kid. I mean, he had to be 13, 14.
Was he kayfabing?
No, not really. It was just kind of like, this is Randy. Bob introduced me to his son, and they were just so great, you know. And he said, "This guy is he's gonna be big someday in this business." And look, you know,
Yeah, you did all right.
did okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that would be cool to have. That's one of the neat things talking to David Marquez a while back. He has all the tapes of all the old stuff he used to do, and so he's got some of the first promos that John Cena ever cut.
Wow, that's classic stuff. I mean, that's
Yeah.
classic. You know, it's kind of funny because when Metal Maniac, Jeff Miller is his name, who worked with Jimmy Snuka all the time.
Yeah.
And when he found me and he called me, he was asking if I had that show.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I couldn't find it at the time. But he said that was a show that Jimmy Snuka talked about till the day he died.
Wow.
Because I didn't put Jimmy in the main event. Yeah. And Jimmy decided to blow it up, like work so hard with Jeff and go through tables, so he stole the spotlight from the main event, which was Bigelow against Santana.
Yeah.
And Jeff would say that he talked to Jimmy even when Jimmy had developed Alzheimer's and dementia. And Jimmy would just say, "Tell me about St. Louis, brother." And so that was heartwarming. I was able to get that tape to Jeff. I did find it, and it's up on YouTube now anyway. So anyway, that's another interesting tidbit.
Yeah. Let's see. You have Sunny Beach on and Pat Tanaka kind of like back to back. And there's a couple stories that came out of here that I'm going to have some questions about.
All right. Let's shoot away.
Fort Jefferson Bowl, Sayville Bowl, 300 Bowl, and Westbury Bowl. Now, call your centers to find out what wrestlers will be at your particular center. We'll be splitting the groups up into two. So Greg and Madusa will be appearing at some of the centers. Jake and Paul E. Will be appearing at some of the other centers. Big Pop Barbecue. Okay, we have Sunny Beach on the other line, who is he's referring to the meal he ate a few days ago. So, Sonny, are you there with us?
You know I am, brother.
And you were one of the local guys from New York that we took along, and the fans are really falling in love with sexy Sunny Beach.
Well, I'm glad to be here. This is a great opportunity for me. The waves aren't so good here, so I don't do much surfing, but...
And don't drink the water.
Yeah, don't drink the water, because I had a little bit of food poisoning, but I'm getting back into shape, and I'm ready to roll.
Certainly you've been involved in a number of different matches, tags matches, single matches, and you have gone over with the fans because of that blue eyes and the blonde hair, and you have made a lot of friends here in this part of the world.
There's a lot of good people in the Philippines, and I like each and every one of them, and I'm having a great time here. And there's some of the best competition around today. Bob Orton, Jake the Snake, Greg Valentine, Kevin Sullivan, the list goes on and on, the Powers of Pain. There's some of the best competition here, and everybody's working really hard, jockeying for position here.
Yeah, and the thing about it, which I've really enjoyed, we have done 7 shows, so we're so far 5, 2 more today. Each and every day, the matches have been different. We have been mixing them up, doing a number of different things. For example, today on the matinee show, we're doing something real different. It's called You Pick the Matches, where the fans are actually going to decide who wrestles who.
Well, I think that's a great opportunity for the fans to really pick who their favorite is and to match them against whoever they want to see. And I think they should do that in the States, I think, a little bit more.
Well, let's put it this way. Wrestling in the States is dead. So the major promotions have certainly killed the business, in my opinion. And what we're gonna try to do is do things a different way, hopefully, and bring the fans back to the arenas. Because right now, with WCW canceling an Omni show on their home base, with the idiotic Cactus Jack videos and everything else they've been doing, and certainly the business in the States right now leaves a lot to be desired. So the wrestlers are looking more and more for overseas opportunities, and that's where the fans really appreciate what they see as well. Sonny, I want to thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, John, and I want all the people to know out there in New York City that John Arezzi is doing a great job with this Universal, the wrestling.
Universal, don't compare me to her, baby.
He's doing
doing a great job, and I was expecting a lot of big things out of John Arezzi in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonny. Okay, and then we're going to bring on a guy who really has aligned himself with the Filipino people here, and that is Pat Tanaka, who was the last-minute addition to this particular tour. And Pat, first of all, it's the first time I had an opportunity to meet with you, and they are calling you here. Not only are they calling you the Filipino kid here, they're calling you the casino kid.
Yeah, John, I tell you what, I've been beating my opponents just like I've been beating those damn dealers out here, the blackjack dealers, boy. I've been killing them. I tell you what, so it's me and you tonight on that blackjack table. We'll beat them all to death. You've been beating them, too.
Yeah, we've been forming a very good tag team as far as in the casinos, and we've certainly been tagging off, and actually we've had some couple of handicap matches with those casino dealers as well.
Yeah, I tell you, I think tonight, after I win my match tonight, I'm definitely going back to the casino and winning some more money.
Well, you've had the cleanest room here at the hotel because the maids have not had to make your bed once because you haven't been in it.
Well, I tell you, they have a special place for me right at the casino table, and they said, Pat, this is your bed. They got me a blanket and a pillow right on my seat. I don't need to go nowhere else.
That's exactly right. But how's your head feeling? I know Orton slammed the belt over it, and the fans here, now the reaction to that, to someone busted wide open, the fans here they were silent. They couldn't believe what was going on.
Well, I tell you, that's like Bob Orton. He's been around for so many years. He comes out, he loses the match, and then, grabs the belt, just wails me on the head. There's not much you can do when something like that happens, but I tell you what, I will have my chance back at him, and I will make him pay for it.
Well, we got 2 shows here. We got shows in Cebu City and Singapore. You'll be taking on a number of the different International Wrestling All-Star talent. And I appreciate your time, Pat, for stopping here today to help us with the show.
Hey, no problem, guys. You guys in New York, take care. We'll see you.
Okay, and also...
Yeah, Tanaka was a substitute when we had to replace Terry.
Okay. I was looking up Tanaka because the name was so familiar and I didn't place it. When I started looking him up, a lot of it came right back to me. But he also had this match that shows up on Twitter from time to time, him against the 1-2-3 Kid.
Yeah.
They worked amazing together.
Oh, Pat was a great worker.
Yeah. Did you think about didn't you mention you wanted to bring Waltman along?
Yeah, I did. Whatever the reason we couldn't work it out, whether he was booked or couldn't go, he was one of the guys that I really wanted to take aboard on this thing.
I wonder, who knows? But I wonder if him...
Well, he was with WWF then.
Yeah. He was right about to do the Razor thing. He was right in the middle of it.
Yeah, so maybe that's what happened. He got picked up by them and he couldn't go.
Yeah. And it was only shortly after that he actually had the match with Tanaka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know. Do you think you called him even?
Sean?
Yeah.
I'm sure I did.
Yeah. I wonder if hearing that the match wasn't going to happen because it couldn't, if he tried to pull some strings back there to get Tanaka in because he wanted to have that match.
Maybe.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. Well,
put it in his
head. Part of what Orient Express for a while too.
Yeah. So I don't think it'd be a tough string to pull, but I wonder if that put it in his head.
Yeah.
But Casino Kid, Pat Tanaka, you guys were out there gambling.
We were doing really well at the blackjack table there. It was kind of me and him that were consistently hitting up those casinos, and we were winning, and they were not happy. They weren't like massive casinos either.
Yeah. Did you make more on blackjack or in promoting? Not true, tour.
Oh, it was definitely promoting. It was,
okay.
The winnings on the blackjack probably amounted to a few grand, maybe. But cool. it was fun. I didn't lose, which was always good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it was fun, it was literally Tanaka was never in his room. He was out there doing something, and you get worried. You're in a foreign country, so you have to be mindful of these guys. Because of the nature of who they are, could get in trouble. Anything could happen. And when you're not in your country, anything could happen. And if you get nailed for something, it's going to be a difficult time getting you out.
Yeah. You did still run ads on this, which I thought was great because you did them remote. You're like, I want to talk about our sponsors. Like, it wasn't even like you just pitched it back to Donnie to run ads for like the last couple of minutes or anything. You read them.
Yeah.
The beginning of that clip even was you talking about the Starlight Foundation charity event that had already been canceled. There was a problem with the promoter trying to get a
Tommy D.
license.
Yeah, it was Tommy
Yeah.
D, actually.
A licensing issue is what you called it, and you said you're going to do whatever you can to try and get things to happen. But that's why you were telling people to keep an eye out on those particular venues because you wanted to put, I think, your show in.
I did.
And you were already talking to some people, I could tell, on the tour about doing appearances when they get back because you'd mentioned Greg Valentine and Madusa and Jake at some of these
The
places.
bowling centers and Jake, of course, with that infamous LNS appearance.
Yes. You did read for an LNS one. Power Twins came on. You had DDP on. The Power Twins, also like Sunny Beach, called you Big Pork Barbecue. They told you to tell everybody how you got Big Pork Barbecue and you wouldn't do it. The second episode, you tell them before they get on not to use any nickname. Like you say it right there. It's like, don't use any nicknames. I'm already getting letters. I've been told. Addressed
Well,
away.
I don't mind spilling the beans on it. All right. And it's in my book too. Because one of the chapters in Matt Memories is called "Just Call Me Big Pork Barbecue."
So good.
And it was a lady of the evening who I'd met in Manila, and her name was Tess, and I hung out with her for a few days. I mean, and and when I was in the lobby, and a bunch of the guys like Sunny Beach and the Power Twins, they saw me, and they're, oh, how you doing? And she was like, I'm just gonna call you Big Pork, my Big Pork Barbecue Man, my Big Pork Barbecue Man.
Were you guys hitting a lot of barbecue places?
No, I don't know why she called me that. That was just her nickname for me because I was big. I was huge.
Well,
and it was funny because then I got a call in my hotel room, and it was like, Johnny, this is Tess. I was like, yes, I'm in jail. I said, what? I'm in jail. I was like, you're in jail? You come get me. I was like, no, I don't come get you. And I didn't go get her. But that name sticks to this day because the Power Twins and Sunny Beach, to this day, they just call me Big Pork Barbecue.
Because they were within earshot.
They were there, yeah.
Yeah, she said it in front of everybody for why.
Right. And that was it. That was it. And that name has stuck, at least to them, the way they address me to this day, 30 years later.
Yeah, I saw it in person when I met one of the Power Twins at CAC. As soon as he sees you, he goes, oh, hey, Big Pork Barbecue.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Any comment that they make on my socials, David or Larry, it's always Big Pork Barbecue something. When they comment, it's just Big Pork Barbecue.
When she said that, did your face drop? Like, how could you do this in front of these people of all people? Like, because there's no way that you knew that it was like, well, that's definitely never dying.
Right. I thought it would die. I thought it would die in, overseas, but it didn't.
I just can imagine the Power Twins hearing that and just smiling ear to ear the second they heard it and being like, yes, forever.
Yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans going on.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shenanigans going on that tour.
It sounded like, I mean, even on this, let's see, I mean, you had DDP on there who said that he was one of the biggest surprises on tour. Madusa comes on for a brief second and gives you some shit because you're like, look, we're about to run out of time. She goes, isn't that always the deal with women's wrestling? They never get time. Just for that, I'm leaving now. And you're like, all right, thanks for your time.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah. But the whole episode obviously is on Patreon. I don't want to beat that to death, but I don't want to play everything either. So we got the following show with another capsule by Donnie.
July 10th now. This is July 10th, 1993.
Yes.
1 week later from Singapore.
Yeah. Did we have, after the capsule, Donnie asks you about different laws out there, and you mentioned the issue with bubblegum?
Mm-hmm.
Singapore's, it's just illegal to have gum or chew gum?
Right. Yeah. Not allowed.
And that was strictly for cleanliness issues? It's like a littering thing, right?
It's like, because it's such an immaculate city. Like littering, you go to jail for littering. You go to jail for chewing gum. I mean, about this time 30 years ago, there was a kid from the United States who got caned by the authorities in Singapore for breaking one of their laws or rules, whatever.
I
And that's
remember
where Paul E came up with the Singapore cane.
Yeah. I remember that. I don't remember why. Obviously, I was just a kid, but I remember that happening. And I remember people being outraged because they thought it was a pretty. I want to say it was like jaywalking, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah, it was something really minor.
Yeah. But I'll be honest, people don't like that, but I would be on board with that if it meant people would. There's literally a receipt and a cigarette butt outside my front door in the bush that is not my receipt, and we don't smoke. So people are just throwing garbage at our front door at any given moment. If I thought they were going to go to jail for the weekend, it wouldn't bother me as much.
There you go. Right. May teach them a lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe I should move to Singapore. It sounds good to me. But we do have Donnie asking you specifically about the mini wrestlers and the Power Twins jump on.
Okay.
And this I thought was worth hearing because it just made me laugh. It just made me laugh 30 years ago, the way we talked about everything.
Midget from the AAA group of Mexico. How did the fans relate to the midget wrestlers, and what was your response to them? Were you pleased with their performance?
Well, the midget wrestlers, Don, and they have virtually stole the show each and every night. They are spectacular performers. They are just a tremendous group of athletes. These two guys that we have, Mascarita Sangrada and also Espectrito from the AAA promotion in Mexico, are the two very, very, very best midget wrestlers in all the world, the best I've ever seen. We have had combination matches where they would be pitted against each other. We also put them in a number of unique tag team situations, mixed tag matches, also even 8-man tag team matches. For example, we had one night where we had, let's say, Espectrito teaming up with Madusa and Cheetah Kid and a Power Twin against another Power Twin. We had the Power Twins facing each other here, which was something really unique. But it's been a very, very rewarding experience. And as far as getting back to the midget wrestlers, our next tour and each tour that we do, they will be a mainstay because they were just fabulous, entertaining, and just athletic. The athleticism that they showed was just beyond reproach. Unfortunately for them, they have been the butt of many, many practical jokes here, a lot of them instigated by the Power Twins who were sitting next to me at this point, tearing their clothes off at one point. We were fortunate enough to visit a resort in Cebu City, and one of the Power Twins almost actually tried to drown one of them, picking one of the midgets up and throwing him into the ocean. So it was kind of interesting scenarios there.
John, today people are so enthused with videos, wrestling fans. Any chance that somewhere down the road that fans might be able to witness some of these matches on tape that you shot or somebody else did?
Always that possibility. I have documented virtually everything we have done here on video, from going and leaving from JFK International Airport to filming tonight when we depart to come back to New York. So everything has been documented. A lot of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of stuff where the guys are on the bus and in the restaurants and traveling about in the resorts. So we may put something together, but most importantly, all these matches that we have had, here in Manila, not Manila, but Singapore, and also matches in Manila, we film them with professional television camera crews because we are going to be trying to put together some television shows for airing in the States and international as well. So we are just beginning here with International Wrestling All-Stars, and I really feel that the group of wrestlers that we've assembled beyond reproach, and we'll be adding others as time progresses, hopefully for our next tour, which will begin in September.
You were just telling us that the Power Twins are there. It seems kind of quiet for them to be in the same room and not saying anything.
Yeah, as far as the Twins go, they are here, and they are very quiet right now. They have racked up many, many demerits on the store. So they've been keeping quiet this morning up to this point. But I want to let the Power Twins say something here to the fans here in New York. And please, guys, no nicknames given on the radio, because I've already been receiving fan mail, from what I understand, from a nickname that you gave me last week. So let's turn it over to Power Twins right now.
What's your question? What a tour. We're still hungover from last night. We went out, we tore up the town. Whatever Big John says, pretty much true. And you know what they say about those midgets? They can't take a joke. Go home. Right? You have anything to say, bro?
Yeah, pass me some gum. I need another cigarette. I'm out here in the street smoking cigarettes and chewing gum. The hell with these people.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've been sticking my gum underneath every chair I can find. What about you, Big John? You been sticking gum everywhere?
No, actually, I've been abiding by the laws here pretty strictly.
Do you think they were littering? Or just saying that to rile you up?
I wouldn't put it past them. I wouldn't put it past them. They had no respect for no authority, no laws. They're just in their own world, as they still are today.
Yeah, I asked Kevin before we went and started recording with him about that briefly, and he said that was a weekend in jail if you put gum on something, if they were chewing gum.
Or flick your cigarette butt.
Yeah, a couple days in jail. Can you imagine? Can you imagine you're getting ready to try and fly back, and if they ended up in jail for the weekend?
Mm-hmm.
You would have just...
I don't know if the law was you couldn't smoke in public. You could smoke inside, but maybe not on the streets. I mean,
I could see that.
Yeah.
Contained to where dishes or
Yeah.
receptacle.
Yeah.
You also start talking about because Donnie asked you a really good question. Have you changed your point of view about wrestling at all, being more on the promoter side of it?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was pretty interesting. Definitely from the money making side, the personality clashes and stuff. Did you want to hear that clip?
Yeah, let's play that. Is that the last one you have?
I have that, and I have an interview with Madusa and a quick one from Konnan, which I liked as well. And those are only a
So
couple
let's
minutes.
just go through them and play that, and then I'll talk about it on the other side.
It's been a lot of fun. We're looking forward to coming home. It's been an exhausting 2 weeks. We've done approximately, I think we did 13 shows over the 2-week period of time. Double shots in Manila, double shot in Singapore yesterday. And it gets to the point where after you're around people for 2.5 weeks on the road, everyone kind of just wants to get the hell away from each other. But it's been, for the most part, it's been very, very rewarding. Many friendships have developed here, a lot of camaraderie, and everyone feels that there's a good nucleus of people assembled here. And we're looking to go to other parts of the globe. There have been negotiations with several territories, India, also New Zealand, and many other places that we'll be going to. So I'm looking forward to it, Don. And any final questions from you, for me, or any of the twins?
This is for you, John. Now wearing the hat of a promoter, I shouldn't say promoter, but somebody involved in a promotion, seeing what goes on behind the stage, do you have a new respect or a different attitude towards people that are involved in running promotions as opposed to being somebody sitting on the outside looking in?
That's a very good question, Don, and I certainly have earned my master's degree in professional wrestling over these last 2 weeks, dealing with the different personalities, some good, some bad, some evil. It's very, very interesting. Putting on a promoter's hat now, and I guess they call me a producer here, not really a promoter, as I am assembling the talent, like a producer who would be assembling a talent for a Broadway production, et cetera, et cetera. But it really has opened my eyes to really what happens on the road, the strain and the trouble and just the grueling scheduling of working, traveling. It's wearing. It wears out, and I can understand why now that when you're on the road for 28 consecutive days or 25 consecutive days, as some of the major promotions have put these guys through over the last several years, it's very, very easy to get burnt out very quickly. And it's just for me personally, reporting on this business for the last several years, and especially in the last 4 with this radio program, I see things a little differently here now than I have previously. And I got to tip my hat off to every one of these guys that are out there trying to make a living in professional wrestling, because it's a very, very tough life. You may be under the spotlight and you may have the cheers or the boos of the fans, but what goes on outside and just the grueling schedule these guys go through, you got to tip your hat to everybody that puts on a pair of trunks.
Talk about with some of the other people there. Just have yourself a safe trip home, and we'll talk to you sometime during the week.
Donnie, I appreciate it very much, and please excuse the interruptions here as we're in a different part of the world, and the telephone hookups here is just it's not primitive, but it's just we can't talk to each other directly.
Good questions by Don. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Did you? I mean, you had spent a good amount of time with these guys locally. Internationally, did you feel
Not
like it
like
was
this.
right?
When I said they were good, bad, evil.
Yeah.
Yeah. The evil was Jake.
Mm.
Because you always had to keep your eye out on him. And, and then when, you contract somebody for a certain amount of money and then he's trying to hold you up in the middle of the tour, I got a double shot. So that means I get more money. Those were the things that really got to me.
Yeah.
Warlord was polite, but he also, if he didn't get his food when he was hungry, if we were out somewhere, or if he didn't have the opportunity to get to the gym, he would get ornery very fast, and it was very scary. Yeah. So, yeah, it was you're always on edge. And then the little personality conflicts, with some of the booking. I stayed out of the booking. It wasn't my place to decide, who was going to go over, what method they were going to use to go over. I know we had to do several title changes just to keep it interesting. But I even stayed out of that. When Pat Tanaka was embraced the way he was, everyone collectively said, you got to put the belt on him for a few shows. And we did.
That's cool.
But it was a very eye-opening experience. And for the most part, if you give it out of a scale 1 to 100, how good it was, I would say it was about 80% good, 20% not good.
You also would have been akin to some of the partying that these guys were doing, especially with your time in New York with some of these guys after shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Was the partying that went on afterwards about the same or way more?
The partying was interesting just because everyone kind of went into their separate little cliques. Like Tanaka and Mike Dorham, they were joined at the hip. When I wasn't at the casino with Tanaka, he would be with Mike Dorham. And they would just go out and do their thing, and they were, they were going a little wild,
Lost in the city.
Yeah, and Power Twins and Sunny Beach, they had their little clique. Wendy really stayed to herself the whole time. Madusa and Valentine were, also joined at the hip, and they did everything together and went their separate ways.
Yeah.
So everyone had their little factions, their little cliques, and I would hear from them when there was some problems or trouble or questions that they wanted answered. Kevin and Nancy obviously kind of kept to themselves. There wasn't a lot of partying, and then Konnan too. I mean, he was really overseeing and watching over the minis too.
Yeah.
And so I mean, we all kind of partied separately in a lot of ways. And Bruce and I were, we're tight. I mean, we, but it was, by the time a show was over with and the travel you had to do and the press and the interviews, you would be exhausted. So it was an interesting experience. One that today I'm happy I could relive through. The magic of having these tapes.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It would be cool to go through them all and put together a little. I mean, the only bummer that would be if we try to do it like low key is that we might not be able to get the floating heads of everybody talking about what's going on. Like
Yeah, you'd
that'd be
have to
half the
do it
fun.
professionally. There would have to be a
Yeah,
company behind it
exactly.
like a Netflix or a Hulu or even bigger than that. I mean,
Yeah,
there is something there that's pretty special, but it's it takes money to put together a
yeah,
doc. You're talking six figures to do
yeah,
that. But I still think that this would be kind of a really interesting documentary on travel to a foreign country with a number of these big name performers
yeah,
and going out of the ring and onto the beach and into the restaurants and in the airports and all the other things that we did
yeah,
there and the massive amount of people. I mean, when we get off the bus, these kids would just run up to us trying to sell us cigarettes or fruit or
yeah,
whatever, just to kind of get some pesos, and that was the money denomination there. And so your heart bled for these people that were just living in the squalor.
yeah. I mean, and it's also cool. You had Wendy Richter, and after Wendy Richter left the WWE, like she didn't do much of significant
No,
like publicity. Like it was a few indie shows here and there from time to time.
yeah, but she can still go.
Yeah, which is why I think that this match is really cool because her and Madusa.
Hmm.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, good stuff. And
So
also that 8-person tag team is up on our YouTube channel as well,
yeah,
which is really the most unique match that we promoted in the entire tour. It was
yeah,
very, very unique. And I don't know if that was a Paul or Paul Heyman brainchild. He
yeah,
might have come up with that idea because he
yeah.
was, he was doing a lot of that beginning, the creative before he decided to go home in the middle of it and just say, all right, I'm done. I'm going to see you, see you in New York.
Had about enough.
Yeah. As soon as he had enough, it was out. He was out. He was gone.
So weird. Did you think he was kind of a homebody in a way? Like, did he not try to travel too much for too long in general?
I think he accomplished what he set out to do by even coming to the tour.
Gotcha.
Because
Yeah.
obviously he was doing that promotion in Texas, right? He heard about us being in business with Konnan and AAA because Konnan makes some comments there that you'll probably hear on the
Yeah.
interview with him. So there were motives for Paul coming aboard on this thing.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, we'll ask Todd Gordon about it. That's another thing we got to talk about because Todd Gordon is coming on
Yeah. That's gonna be great.
next show. He's got that book coming out. But yeah, I mean, at that time, was Paulie in conversations with Todd
Mm.
while Paulie was promoting in Texas?
Mm.
So
Todd
yeah,
wasn't on this tour, right?
Todd Gordon
Yeah, he wasn't involved
on
in
my
your
tour?
stuff. Yeah, he
No,
wasn't involved in your stuff, right?
no, no.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Hmm. Let's play the last two. We got Madusa.
Yep.
Greg the Hammer comes on for a minute, but I don't have that. And then we got Konnan right after. But I mean, what am I gonna say? We're both homers for Madusa and Konnan, and we have been forever. So I'm gonna play these
That is
clips.
right. There you go. Thank you.
We've just been joined by Miss Madusa Michelli, who's sitting down here looking burnt out as well. Good morning. And here comes Greg Valentine as well. And I tell you what, before we go to the break, why don't I just do a couple of quick interviews with some of the personalities that we have sitting here with us. And first, Madusa, would you like to come over here and? Yes. She just got stuck on a chair. Knees bandaged up. Last night, Madusa captured the IWAS women's title from Wendy Richter here in Singapore. And Madusa, it's all over now. Tour's over. Everyone just relaxing, getting ready to go home. Your synopsis or opinions on what's happened here the last few weeks?
I think it's been absolutely great here in Singapore. It's going to be a great area for wrestling. The more we come, the more people will come. We had great crowds. They're very responsive, and I especially think they really like the women's wrestling the best. But John, I'm just partial anyway. So, you want to?
Yeah, the last statement you made as far as the women's wrestling, we were unaware until we got here that they have never allowed two women in the ring here in Singapore. So your match with Wendy, the first night here, was very historic. It was never done here before. So they made a big deal of it. And you got a lot of press here also. You got a lot of reporters doing feature interviews with you because it's just such a unique concept, and they do appreciate what you do.
Well, Singapore itself has a lot of rules. I mean, from chewing, you can't chew gum, from if you're even caught with any one little bit of a narcotic drug or something, it's automatic death. And that's enough to scare anybody, so I'm glad I don't do any of it. But as far as the women, they were very skeptical for the women to even wrestle. I think because of the country being so straight-laced, and but I'm glad they gave us a chance, because now we proved to them that women's wrestling is very athletic, and it's not just TNA, and there's beauty combined into it also. I'm really glad that I'm really surprised that I captured the IWAS title from Wendy Richter. Wendy Richter is a very good wrestler. She's one of the toughest. She comes from the old school, but so do I. People don't remember I do come from the old school, so I know all their little tactics and their ways and etc. But I kind of enhanced on the new type of women's wrestling. So with those two combined, I plan on holding the title for quite some time. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure being here, and thanks, John, for everything. And signing off. Here you go.
Thank you, Madusa. I appreciate it very much. And
she's very nice.
Yeah, she's good. She was a lot more happy this time than the last time, because last time you didn't give her enough time.
That was probably something that was embedded in my head that I had to. I want to get on her bad side.
That's
30
true.
years ago, or even today.
Yeah, once you realize she was upset, you're like, all right, let's start with Madusa. Let's get her on here as quick as possible, with as much time as she wants.
Exactly.
I'm going to pull the clips of her on the airplane, and I'm going to send those to her.
Okay.
We'll see what she has to say about them. But here's Konnan.
Okay.
Our next guest is, we only have about 5 minutes to go here. Let's bring in the biggest star of Mexico, biggest star of the AAA wrestling promotion, and certainly someone here who has captured the hearts of the fans in Manila and Cebu City, in Singapore. And I'm referring to Konnan, who was the IWAS light heavyweight champion. And Konnan has thrilled the fans with the spectacular moves. And Konnan, the tour is wrapped up here, and I just want to get your opinions on how you think everything went, and if you enjoyed participating with us on this venture.
First of all, I just want to say hi to everybody out there, and it's been more than anything culturally enlightening time. You know, you learn a lot about the different cultures and the different countries and stuff like that, and that's just something that you keep with you for the rest of your life. More than anything else, I think the people down here, when they come to see the wrestling, I think they were expecting to see something like they see on TV. We had some women's wrestling, we had some Mexican style, we had some mixed matches, we had women with midgets and men, and it was just a whole conglomeration of different styles, and it was very unique. And I myself, I learned a lot. There were a lot of people here that I learned a lot from, like Pat Tanaka. I learned a lot of things as far as timing from Greg Valentine, Bob Orton, Kevin Sullivan, a lot of the crafty veterans here. So for me, it also helped me learn, now that I'm going to be going over there with Paulie Dangerously to his promotion. And I guess it's July 30th. I'm going to have to learn more of the American psychology. So it was a learning experience for me on the wrestling end. Culturally, it was a learning experience. The people, more than anything, what I like about the people here is they're very courteous. I feel that's always been the Oriental way. Now that I've been to Manila and Japan and a few other Oriental countries in other capacities, not just as a wrestler. But it's been a pleasure. I've made some good friends. We're going to try to get some talent from this tour down to Mexico. and I'm looking forward to doing it again. Like everything else, you know, you had some stuff that didn't go as planned, but you know, everything can't be utopia. But more than anything, I just want to say hi to everybody. We're expecting AAA to be down there maybe October, November. A lot of you will finally see Mexican wrestling up close for the first time due to the efforts of John Arezzi and Ron Scholar. And I just want to say hi to everybody. Thank you.
A lot there. I think when he was talking about Paul, it could have been in that, because I think Paul was planning a TV taping down in Texas that he was going to bring Konnan in for. I don't even know if that took place or not. I guess we'll find out in future episodes or whatever. But yeah, he was always gracious, and we were in the middle of getting ready to announce the AAA and United States invasion for Los Angeles at the end of August. So when he talked about October, you know, we got it done earlier.
Huh. Did the ECW and AAA one, that was before it was Extreme, right?
No, that was after. That was in '95.
That was in '95. That was after it went
Yeah.
Extreme. Okay.
Yeah, that was in '95. What a show! I mean, if the
Yeah.
WWE would ever release that, put that up on the Peacock, I mean, people would love it, because you know, where the heck are you going to get Cactus Jack in the ring with Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, maybe.
You know, and Terry Funk hanging Perro Aguayo, causing a riot. I mean, it was a spectacular show, and Fire with the Eliminators and Too Cold Scorpio and the Dudleys. I mean, there was fire on the tables. I mean, there was just an incredible, and Koji Katayo from Japan was on that show. I mean, it was a spectacular show that was IWAS, AAA, and ECW. Only time ever it was done in Chicago.
It's just also so cool to hear what's going on here, and Paul's starting to get a little bit of power, a little bit of booking. He's starting to get a little more involved in that kind of stuff, and the people he's trying to bring along with him are the guys like Konnan. Like, he saw that there was a lot there, and this is before WCW gave them any time of day, and WCW even the way they used them.
WCW wasn't until we did the pay-per-view. I mean, when Worlds Collide, when Scholar put together that deal with Bischoff. And I was about ready to remove myself from the situation, and I did. Sold my stock in that in '94 before the pay-per-view. And that was before they started poaching the talent, and it was just kind of, you know, it was like, it's the cutthroat, backstabbing wrestling business. I mean, people cherry picked. They did. And WCW was guilty. I mean, especially when they heard about our tour. I mean, that's when they sent the people over. So it was an interesting time in wrestling. A lot of things were changing. You know, no one knew what was going on with, is Vince going to go to jail? Is he, you know, go on a trial? WCW was still floundering. It was before the Monday Night Wars. ECW, you know, starting to emerge and then getting their TV. And me, you know, bringing those parties together to do the AAA and invading the U.S. with spectacular shows and large dates, large money. It was a very interesting time, '93, '94, in the history of the wrestling business, and I was happy to be part of it, as small of a part of it as I was. You know, it was just kind of, as Madusa says, the hub. I mean, I was able to do some hubbing and you know, bring some pretty cool people together who did some amazing things.
And really cool, because I mean, this was one of your big. I mean, this was your first real big one to do, and it wasn't even locally. Like, you would have assumed that the first thing you would have done is something in New York where you knew a place, you know. But
I thought we were going to be huge, you know, because we were in discussions with promoters in India, and we're in New Zealand, and you know, and then the agent that I was dealing with, I mean, he had a lot of other acts he was booking, you know, from back then, Jose Feliciano, the Peking Circus, all of these great international acts, and the wrestling. I mean, he was excited about it, but you know, once you have a promoter who says, "Yeah, let's do a show," and then it doesn't happen, and then you kind of lose your edge and your luster. And even though tried, I think it was kind of like what could have been if we got more international promoters that wanted to bring this stuff. But the key is always television, and we didn't have television. That's why I even did that demo reel, that little sizzle reel, that 12-minute,
Yeah.
15-minute IWAS promo reel, so we could send that to promoters to see what they'd be getting.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people who are really successful, especially in those things, they talk about like it has a lot to do with luck and being prepared when lucky things happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a lot
Right.
of work to
And
get
it
you
was
there.
like it was great, but it was like you need an infrastructure. You
Yeah.
need resources. You need a team. And you can't do it by yourself. You just can't.
Did you ever, after this, you promoted a couple more shows, right?
Oh yeah, I did. Dallas
Yeah.
in August, and that's coming up.
But like specifically through IWAS? Was that the
Yeah, they
Dallas
were
show?
all
Yeah.
IWS branded shows,
Yeah.
and then I did Caracas, Venezuela,
Mhm.
in '95 as well, and that's when I put Konnan together with Rey Mysterio against Sabu and Psychosis,
Mm.
which was a killer match, and I brought Matt Bourne over as Doink.
Oh wow.
And he was great. Nikolai Volkov and a number of big name stars there. But that was the card in Caracas that I had booked Jim Neidhart and Brutus Beefcake, and then they no showed it, and we got fined by the promoters. And then they came in. I guess with maybe Savoldi's or something, and they went into this. They actually went into the same venue with guys that we were advertising that didn't show up for us. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really cutthroat. It was bad. And I never forget being in a hotel room. We're in Caracas, and Matt Bourne is there. And who else was in the room? Maybe Volkov, and I don't know who else. There was one of the other guys. I don't know if Kevin Sullivan was on that or not. Calling up Neidhart, and they were just laughing at us on the phone. We ain't fucking going. Ha ha ha. Even though their plane tickets were bought and all of that. And so that was discouraging, and then you get like, who the hell wants to do this shit? If this is like, all you're trying to do is make a living and people are trying to sabotage you for what reason?
Yeah, and I mean, it's like you and I discussed not that long ago. Sometimes people in these shoot interviews will go on there and just say like, "Oh, this guy screwed over this guy, or this guy lied to me about this," and you're like, and you're trying to pretend like no one else ever did that. But like, the more you think about these things, it's like
It's
they were
constant.
taking your money and then knowingly not going to do the thing. Like you were trying to make a living and also help them make a living.
Yeah.
Like you were trying to do a mutually beneficial thing. You weren't trying to take advantage of anybody.
No, I just want to make a living and give people work and go to different places. And the thing is also, when Scholar and all of that AAA stuff fell apart, then Pena and Konnan reached out to me and says, "You want to do some stuff with us?" And yeah, I promoted probably 4 or 5 shows, maybe more, which was AAA IWAS, including a series of what we build as a Triple Mania. So we did that, and I actually had all the footage for Los Angeles Sports Arena, where there was the hair versus the hair match or whatever it was, and Pena had given me the license to film it all, and I sold all that footage back to AAA last year. So that was the one big show they didn't have on tape, and so I was able to cut a deal and sell all of those shows, all the there were several it was like all the master tapes to them.
Yeah.
And they have them. They're going to put them on TV eventually.
That's awesome. That's great.
So yeah, so that's what I did. And then the last show I promoted was in Arizona. It was at the Arizona State Fair, and that was in '96. And that's when Mil Mascaras was in my main event, and that's when he came up to me and shows up. And I bought everybody plane tickets, of course. And he shows me the first class plane ticket, and he goes, "I upgraded myself to first class. I need the reimbursement." And I was like, I didn't say I was going first class. And here's like one of my heroes, right?
Yeah.
And he would constantly harp on me, like call me up, John, Mil Mosquez, where's the money for the plane ticket? Even a year after I got out of wrestling,
Yeah.
a full year, like sometime in '97, I was out and a call comes in and my mom picks it up and she goes, John, there's a Miss Moscow here. Somebody wants to talk to you. And I was like, huh? And he goes, John, Mil Mosquez, just calling. Want about that plane ticket? I said, Mil, I'm not in the fucking wrestling business anymore. I've been done in a year and I wasn't going to pay you back then. And I'm certainly not paying you today. And I hung up on him and that was the end of that.
So crazy.
It could be a book. And it is.
Who else did you have on that Arizona show?
Boy. Samoans. I know I had tag team with the Samoans and probably a lot of AAA guys as well.
Yeah. Okay. I was just curious. I have a feeling one of my friends may have gone because that was during a time that he was.
A lot of that stuff is blocked out of my mind, like the card, who was on the show. All I know is that we did the Celebrity Theater also out there in Phoenix in the round.
Yeah.
And so it was like, but at that point, I had enough.
Yeah.
96, that was it, man. After that thing at the Arizona State Fair, and I'm like, I'm going to be 40 years old. I was 39. I'm going to be 40. And I don't got a fucking car. I ain't got no money. I don't have shit. I don't have a suit. I was done. I was bankrupt. I was finished. And that's why it was so easy for me to say, you know what, turn the page. And I finally listened to my family. I said, just get a job. Get a job. And even though they didn't understand what I was doing was a job, for me, it was a career that I was trying to take off. And that's when I answered an ad in that little newspaper in Newsday on Long Island. They were looking for a sales guy at WMJC for country music radio, and I got the job. And
it's crazy to think about too, because a lot of people think about stuff like, it's always going to be tough business, but they think if you have the right connections and the right people and you have the right, connections that you can make it work. And it's like you had all those things, and it was still really uphill.
Yeah.
It's all kind of crazy. It's all kind of nuts. But I like that we made this one kind of an IWAS overview, because that's what I was kind of excited about this. It was 2 separate weeks of the tour, plus the footage, plus the Kevin. I liked all that.
And then next week we cover the aftermath.
Yeah.
When I get back to the States and get back to NYG, and I do have to make a correction, as I think I told you. We did not leave EVD right away. I guess we had a few more shows there, but there are no tapes that exist because I plugged it on the next week's show. I plug it. So anyway, we're going to cover that next week, but most of the show next week is going to be Todd Gordon.
Yeah.
We're going to pull some clips of Todd's appearances on the Spotlight. He's got a new book coming out, Todd is God, and we're going to get into it with Todd next week. And spoke to him today. He's committed to do it. And this book is going to be controversial.
Oh, yeah?
Well, yeah, because he goes right after Paul Heyman in this book. And I haven't read it, but I've heard things about it, and he is not going to pull any punches, he said. He said, can I talk about whatever? I said, talk about whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, I want to know the story about it all happened at ECW.
Yeah. It's like we've said before, it's all that person's perspective and how they perceived that thing. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Because
I've heard just about from everyone else.
Yeah, I'm going to pull the clips. I think Todd came on the show when he first announced Eastern Championship Wrestling, when that was first starting to take off.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff that I'll pull, it may be in the future, but it'll be when they did the double cross on with the NWA title with Shane Douglas and throwing the belt down and all that. So we'll pull some clips from that, and we'll be able to enjoy that with Todd, who's never heard it before.
That's cool.
So it'll be fun next week.
Yeah, I'm excited. I liked this one, and I'm excited for that one. This is good.
Yeah, very good stuff. We keep trying, and I hope that everybody out there has enjoyed this one. And Marsh, before we hang it up for today, let everybody know where to find you on social media and all the good things that you're doing.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on YouTube with Madusa, youtube.com/Queen of Carnage. She's committed and she's announced it. She's going to be doing a lot more wrestling talk, and that's got me excited because that's what I've been trying to get her to do for a while. So we're going to start talking about kind of taking after you a little bit. We're going to go after her career and start with old tapes and old photos. And
there you go. That's what she needs to do.
Yeah. And start telling me, how did you get here? What happened behind here? Like, let's get into it. And so I'm really excited about what that means it can be.
Long overdue for her because she's got such a storied career and what a life. Her book, The Woman Who Would Be King, the Madusa story is out there. And if you haven't picked it up, go get it. It's a great book. And now that you're going to be doing this YouTube stuff with her, it's going to be great for the fans to be able to experience that in her illustrious career.
Yes, and we want to make sure it's more of a companion to the book than a replacement of. We're not going to cover most stories that are in there. We're going to talk about the topic, but if there's a story in there, we're going to tell people the story's in there. Let's talk about the stuff that's not in there. Like we're going to go that way.
Right. Yeah, like we do here on this show. There's a lot of stuff in my book, but not to the extent that we talk about it.
Exactly. So I'm really excited about that. So check that out. I'm on Instagram, MarshRef. I'm now on Threads at MarshRef. I'm still on Twitter here and there, Ref Marsh. But that's it's kind of the big things that I've been up to and kind of what I'm excited about.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate your help each and every week with this show. So we will talk to you again next week, Marsh. All righty, that'll wrap up this edition of John Arezzi's Pro Wrestling Spotlight. Join our private group, Pro Wrestling Spotlight, on Facebook. You can find us there. We have a public page to share history, and that is John Arezzi's Matt Memories. That one is really doing big numbers for us. And there's a private group under John Arezzi's Matt Memories as well. The YouTube channel, if I can ask you to please subscribe to that. That certainly helps us. We need our numbers up. And we're monetizing now finally. But all this content and several of the stories that you heard tonight, the matches are up there on YouTube. There's probably 5 or 6 and promos. And so if you want to see it, as Marsh said, go to the bottom. Go look for, not the newest shows, but go down to the lower shows, the older posts, and that's where you'll see this content. So that is youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Spotlight. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and also Threads. It's simply at John Arezzi. And if you would like a signed and numbered copy of my book, Matt Memories, I'll be more than happy to provide one. Just send an email to me at john@mattmemories.com. Don't forget about our sister podcast, Matt Memories from Madison Square Garden, covering all the shows I covered from the Mecca of all arenas 50 years ago to the day that show took place. So the new one is out there right now. Carrie Silken joined us for that particular show. Of course, the guy that was so instrumental with Ring of Honor. And he also attended a lot of those historic shows at Madison Square Garden some 50 years ago. And that show, Matt Memories from Madison Square Garden, is co-hosted by Tim Poutre, written and researched by Richie Garcia. Thank you to our producer and creative director, Marsh. And thanks to Patreon executive producers, Anthony Pyrus and Joe Holloway, and all the patrons for your support, helping with the production costs for this show. Until next week, when we relive more history with Todd Gordon, this is John Arezzi for the Pro Wrestling Spotlight.